order. I would ask if you plan to make a public comment, please complete a comment card and give it to Mrs. Howard at this time. And I'd also ask that you silence your cell phones and remove your hats as we stand for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we do the roll call for Mr. Taylor.
Amy.
Present.
Hanson. Montague.
Present.
Murphy.
Totally present.
Odell.
Present.
Randberg. And Love.
Present. And for the record, Mrs. Randberg and Mrs. Hanson are at the Michigan Associated School Boards Annual Leadership Conference, so they're headed up for that this weekend. So they're doing school board business all weekend, not just for this one meeting. I need a motion to adopt the agenda as presented, please.
I'll move.
Support.
Been moved and supported. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Up first this evening, as always, are, do you guys hear okay? I feel like these are really loud today. Is that better?
That's good back there.
Right. Oh, that's why it sounds so quiet here. Okay. All right. If you can't hear, just let me know. Our student board rep has a volleyball obligation this evening, but I think she has a report for us, and Mrs. Thomas is going to read that on her behalf.
Currently across LCS. LHS, Link Crew held their first assembly today. Upperclassmen leaders were able to check in with freshmen to make sure the school year has been going well. Groups of freshmen made tinfoil costumes to represent a responsible superhero. For example, Doing Homework Man won Best Costume and Donuts for his Eagle Time class. Career-oriented field trips have been very frequent amongst the sophomore and junior classes lately. These events have been very motivating in letting students know all of the opportunities they have after high school. Linden Varsity Volleyball won the Stripes division of the Flint Metro League last Wednesday. And Linden Girls Cross Country Team are the Flint Metro League champions for the first time in a decade. At Central recently held their fun run assembly to conclude the fundraiser. Students raised just over $18,000 to support student activities and learning. During the fundraiser, prizes were awarded for the top earners. Mrs. Morford had silly string by 15 students and staff, and were kindly greeted by Mr. Ciesielski and Joey Spencer. This October is in full swing with Central Student Council asking students to donate items to support Clara's Hope. This opportunity for Student Council students provides the development of leadership skills while also showing one way to give back to their community. At Hyatt, students have been busy with field trips, and recently the school held a character education assembly that connected to their SOAR principles. Many students are participating in a community service project to support the Children's Burn Unit at Hurley Hospital. And at Linden Elementary, on October 13th, Linden held its trunk or treat event sponsored by PALS. Many families, staff, and local organizations came together for a very festive evening in the community. And on October 16th, they held their first grade career fair. Linden and Hyatt first grade teachers partnered with community leaders and business owners to host a career fair for students. The children were thrilled and inspired by this. Thank you from Ella Clark.
All right, thank you to Ella for always gathering a lot of great information, and thank you, Mrs. Thomas, for sharing her report. All right, up next is Mr. Ciesielski with Superintendent report.
Thank you and welcome everybody this evening. A couple things out. First of all, congratulations to Linden High School teacher Molly Plunkett. Molly has been chosen and will be recognized by the Fenton-Linden Regional Chamber as the Teacher of the Year for Linden Community Schools. So the celebration dinner will take place on Friday, November 7th. Ms. Luck mentioned that Ms. Hanson and Ms. Randberg were at the annual leadership conference. I'll be joining them on Saturday at the annual leadership conference, along with the superintendent from Fenton and Lake Fenton. We'll be presenting to boards from across the state on the 3-district consortium that we have. So we're pretty excited about that. And then the last thing I have, well, maybe I gotta check with Jared here. EagleCon 2025 is right around the corner, November 4th. EagleCon is a staff-centered PD day for Linden Community School staff. Vicki Wilson will keynote the event, talking about building collective teacher efficacy. And from there, Linden educators will attend sessions that focus on supporting students, instructional technologies, Tier 1 best practices, formative assessments, and etc. This is an all-day event focused on supporting our teachers and our students. So So congratulations to Cheryl, just a quick plug for that, because she does a lot of work to put that together. And then I'm assuming you're gonna touch on, okay. So that's all I have for this evening. Yeah.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ciesielski, and, we'll start with Mr. Montague.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Luck. Good evening, everybody. So, Mr. Ciesielski, Ms. Luck, Ms. Hanson, and I all had the opportunity to go to GCI last Thursday for an open house. Oh, yeah, sorry.
That's all right.
Forgot you
You
were
can be
there.
correct. I got it.
Sure, that's great. And, so one of the big things that I took away from it was that out of 37 sending schools to GCI, Linden sends the most students there at 143, which is pretty awesome. And I asked Mr. Ciesielski why he thought that was, and he said a lot of it is due to Miss Morning's promotion of it, and she is really a great advocate for the programs. And plus, I think we just have, there's a lot of good word of mouth. I have actually all 4 of my high schoolers that are going up there, so a lot of great opportunities. And one of the other things that I had never seen there before, there's a whole wall in the hallway with, I think about 20 apprenticeship programs linked with QR codes for the local unions. So the students can go scan there and they have a lot of opportunities to know exactly where they can go for apprenticeship programs. So I thought that was really cool.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you for representing Linden at that, it's a good event. Any other board reports, Mr. Murphy?
Thank you, Mr. Luck. Just pick up on some success stories we've got going on right now. It sounds like the sports teams, fall sports teams are all doing fairly well. Volleyball, cross-country girls, doing particularly well. I think the football team, I think they're in the playoffs this week. Soccer, I'm not sure, but just good luck to all those for their future participation, and congrats for what they've done so far. My grandson is part of the 4-year-old, or 4th grade contingent that is going over to the spelling bee over at St. John's tonight, 6 o'clock. So hopefully he'll do well, and the whole group will do well. I think there's 9 kids from Linden in that group. I'm not exactly sure how many, but I think that's what I heard. So, but congratulations to all the spelling bee participants tonight here. That's it for me. Thanks.
All right, anybody else this evening? The only thing I have is just a reminder to board members, I know it's a little ways off, but we got an email about the annual, Genesee County Association of School Board Members Holiday Dinner, and that'll be on Thursday, December 4th, I believe. It, again, conflicts with the holidays here in Linden, which is unfortunate that it's the same night 2 years in a row, but, if you're interested in attending, with your spouse, let Mrs. Keller know so we can get the RSVPs in. It's always a nice event, they do service awards and such for, board members across the county. It's a good opportunity to, collaborate with board members across the county as well as just celebrate the holiday season, so. That is all I have this evening, so that moves us to our special presentations this evening, and we have, Ms. Elizabeth Molnar here, I believe. Right, yep, to do the new teacher academy. Sorry, I put you on the spot, your name is on my list, so. No, okay, perfect. And we do have a presentation, so we've been able to look through this in advance, which is helpful, thank you, and so we look forward to hearing from you.
We've got some different heights going on.
We're excited about this opportunity to share with you the new Teacher Academy. This is something that actually, we've had an orientation and we've had an academy, actually back in the late 2000s, probably around 2008, we started it. And we've had people from our district curriculum committee represent each level, elementary, middle school, and high school. One of them happened to be Bethany George. And when I came back into this role, one of the first things I asked Russ was, could he let me go ahead and create mentor facilitators again, because it was so valuable. They had stopped around, I think, 2018 or 19 and had done. So I was really grateful. And we were able to have, can you go to the next one? Okay, we were able to have Dr. George help me again to launch this, and Jessica Day and Beth Molnar applied to be our facilitators at the elementary and middle school. So it is really exciting to have this dream team, and they really have really raised the bar for us and taken the program and taken it to the next level. So the wonderful part about it is that when we have an elementary, middle school, or high school, teacher that's new or staff member, then like Bethany oversees like the high school people and their mentors, and Jessica oversees the elementary and their mentors to make sure that there's big ideas that we have for our program. One of them is welcoming the new teachers and helping them integrate into the Linden community school culture. And also for that to support the state requirements that they have to have 30 hours in addition to the district's required professional development of 30 hours every year. And so we've created, during the day, after school, orientation, all of those opportunities to be able to fill that. I pre-applied for the sketches and have been approved for that. They also are learning all about, which I really appreciate, our big objectives, like our Education Bylaw curriculum, the MTSS, the PLCs, all of that. And then also for the 5D, we want to make sure all of our new teachers understand the evaluation process with the 5D.
Okay, so the first of all, I was in that last group in 2018, and I just remember sitting there being like, how did they get to do this? Like, I would love to do that someday. And then here I am. So, and I really appreciated how I was not from here in that piece, that integration into Linden Community Schools culture. And I can say, this year at our orientation, we finished with a circle where we do one of the 3 A's. Do you want to shout out an appreciation for a peer in your learning, not your facilitators, but your learning? Or do you need to offer the group an apology? Is there something that you feel like you just want to air out, or did you have an aha? So we circled together, and multiple teachers of our newbies said, we're here because we heard Linden was different. We didn't expect to feel it this soon. And so I just think that that's a really powerful way to start our year with our new teachers. That may be a little verklempt. Okay. So the supporting new staff with those requirements, those 30 additional hours, that's just no joke. And so we do that with our meetings. We also do that by encouraging really good collaboration with mentors. And tomorrow night, we actually have a meeting from 4 to 6 with the teachers. And then Bethany and Jessica and I are going to have a meeting to figure out how to even better support our year 2s and 3s to make sure that we make that as easy and supportive for them as possible, because we really focused in on that first year so much. In addition, it's just really important because when you've been here for a while and you hear Guaranteed Bible curriculum all the time, that's not a real big deal. But to someone coming into the building, we have a lot of stuff going on, and it's all cool and it's all connected, but they have to be shown like how that works. One of my most fun moments last year with our group was I was talking about restorative practices and how we need to marry those 2 sides of the MTS pyramid, like academics and behavior. And we sat down and we workshopped questions you could ask. It was an on the fly. How do you do this? How do you get the academic and this SEL part together? And so we have the flexibility in our meetings to really meet those needs as they come up. And then the 5D growth tool, we always have a section of that is a focus. And we try to teach teachers about that using best practices, using engagement strategies. So it's not just a boring, let's dig into the tool, but we also try to give them something really useful that teachers can walk away with and use in their classrooms right away.
This slide, actually, we kind of co-authored this one. We were talking about, so what? So what does it look like? Well, it's a lot of resources for teachers. The first one is the handbook that Mr. Brett Young made, and we're just constantly revising, add to it. It was a great piece that we needed to have access to. And then the checklist. So the ISD provides a checklist, monthly checklist, and we resource that out as well. And mentors meet with their teachers every month, and those are topics that they can cover so that we have that safety net of things. Could be something about your conferences, right? A little prep for them. It's all different topics. We really try to make sure, though, that they highlight the checklist areas that are on classroom management and instructional best practices. And then there's face-to-face, like the orientation before school that I'm able to be a part of, and then we have a couple during the school day, and then there's after-school meetings as well to get to that 30 hours. And we really, like I talked about before, we have facilitators for all 3 levels, which is really critical. We talk a lot about like year 2 and 3, having them kind of follow up and make sure that they're continuing to enter their professional development in our employee web. It's important. Michelle and I track that pretty closely, especially Michelle. She's great at reminding Juanita
survey with them, so they know this is what you're communicating in response. And on tomorrow's agenda, I have all of the things from their last need survey, and one of those things we're not gonna touch on till our next meeting, and so I'm like, more to come, but we do try to make sure that we are listening and designing around what they want.
Any questions?
I think this is awesome, and I really just appreciate all the work that everyone puts into this. I love the anecdote that you shared about how teachers feel when they come to Linden. I think that's really important. And I really like the fact that you see this through the first few years. I think it's really easy, a lot of places I've seen, you do onboarding, and it's like you make a big deal out of it, and then 6 months or a year goes by, and it's like, oh, you're on your own, So I love the fact that that mentorship continues throughout the first few years at least, so I think that's awesome.
I just want to add a little bit more too for you. So we have a couple of days, one first semester and one second semester, where we allow a half a day release time for the mentors and mentees to collaborate. Now, there's often times where they'll say, hey, is it okay if my mentor comes and observes me in the morning and then we debrief in the afternoon when we have our meeting? So a lot of times it goes farther than what we had anticipated. We always offer those opportunities, and then second semester, the mentee, will have the mentor watch them and coach them, and it's really exciting. We also have our instructional coaches that we're blessed to have do a coaching cycle with all new teachers.
That's awesome. And I'm sure the mentorship really becomes friendship in many cases.
It does.
Which, that's awesome.
We've heard they go for pedicures sometimes.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. But that means, that goes a long way,
Mhm.
in a profession, in a work setting. So, thank you very much. Any other questions or comments from board members? Mr. Murphy?
Thank you, Mr. Luck. Thank you, Ms. Molnar and Ms. Thomas for the presentation. This is something that, I'm very excited about. Having a daughter that teaches here and a wife that teaches in another district, I've kind of been listening to the teacher side of the community for a long time. Not to reinvent the wheel, but how many other districts do you think are out there doing something like this kind of?
There's quite a few. In fact, when I was a teacher, I learned about this when I went to Fenton, and they had a couple of teachers that led some topics. They talked about, the implementation dip, and they talked about the different times of the year where, teachers, how they feel. There's some great research out there. I can't name every single one, but every single district is required to provide 30 additional hours. So it might not look like our new teacher academy, but they are required to provide that. Some districts only provide online resources for people.
Yeah.
Every district's a little bit different depending on their staffing.
Well, I think the approach that you seem to be using here is very, progressive, active, interactive. I think it's looking to really make sure that it's successful in the teacher. Now, is a new teacher considered just new to our district or a new teacher in the business?
So, yeah.
Okay, so they all qualify as
Right.
a new teacher, whether they're a veteran teacher?
Right, so if you're an experienced teacher but you're new to Linden,
Mhm.
you come for 1 year to the new teacher academy.
Okay.
But if you're brand new, then you're supported year 2 and 3.
And that makes it so rich too, because sometimes we have a lot of experience. When I came here in 2018, I felt like I knew a thing or two. But we all just had such great deep conversations, and I think the fact that we are supported at every level like that, which was even true back when I started, I think that's really unique. That there are people who are just like in it, in the schools, and I think a lot of times when they do have these programs in other school districts, they're only like district
Right, central.
people
Mhm.
who are doing it, and they might not have been in classrooms necessarily as recently and stuff like that. So I think it is really cool that we have that touch.
How many, first-year teachers do we have involved in the program this year?
Oh gosh,
That are like brand new,
Brand new.
Total,
spanking new?
total,
3 for sure.
Okay, and I think we are at about 10 in the new teacher academy. And now one of those is a counselor, so that always looks
One's a
a little bit
social worker.
different. But I wanna say about 4 of them are brand spanking new.
okay. So are you saying there's like a total of 10 in the first-year part, but not in the 3-year window?
They're this year, but not all of them are gonna stay on because they've had experience.
Right. But the 3-year window, we've got a handful.
Yeah.
We have a
Yes.
handful,
In that
actually.
program.
Right.
That sounds very, very effective too.
And
Yeah,
it's about teacher retention too.
Sure.
I mean, part of the reason we're doing this is retention. And I think it's-
Absolutely.
Probably the biggest thing I think is challenging for young teachers is dealing with young parents. And it's like, what strategies do we have to help young parents work with being parents of kids for the first time? You know, whether, because, you know, it seems like problems can happen at home, that can get dragged into the classroom. And it's helpful, I think, if a teacher can kind of seduce that problem into not being a problem in the classroom, but to help with parenting. Because a lot of these parents, let's face it, they're too early income. They're not like my parents were, where I had a stay-at-home mom, you know, and so I think it's a big challenge for parents. And I think it's a resource that we need to focus on a little bit.
Our first September meeting, like past our orientation, is always the professionalism part and getting ready for parent-teacher conferences and making sure that our young teachers feel prepared for that and feel prepared for those conversations. So we hit that right out of the gate, or we tried to.
I think that's really important, so. Other than that, it's a great program, looks like, and, just like I said, keep listening to what's out there to make it better, if you can. But, I think it'll be a challenge to do that, so, thank you.
And Mr. Haney?
Thank you for the presentation. I think you touched base on it. As far as retention is concerned, it's remarkably hard, and Jared can probably testify to this, to quantify what turnover costs are. When it comes to orientation, advertising, you go down the list, it's much more expensive than people think. And I relate this story as well in your program to when I was in long-term care. The chance for somebody to have a fall when they're entered into your nursing home, per se, is always greatest in the first 2 weeks. So you put interventions in place to try to help them not fall.
Right.
So this is no different from that aspect, is that you're carrying the load for those first 3 years to make sure they understand they're part of the bigger picture and giving them all the support services. So I think it's a brilliant program. When was the inception? I'm just curious because you spoke in 2018.
Well, I think I started it, probably by 2007, 8 years. It was like right at the beginning of my career here.
And it's grown since then into what it is
Yeah,
today.
it was a pause for a little bit, you know, COVID, quarantine and all that, and they did more online. And then when, I moved back to central office, I had the, support of my superintendent to get it off the ground. And I actually went to Dr. George because she was someone who helped me build it the first time and had been on the district fiscal committee. And, you know, I said, I think we'll find some good people, and we did try to do a little networking, and we posted the position, and we're very, very blessed with, having 2 instructional coaches to apply, so. And Bethany and I have been like, oh my gosh, they're actually teaching us some things after we had built this program. It's really fun to have, Jessica Day and, Elizabeth Molnar helping us.
You said you're getting positive feedback from the
Yes.
teachers throughout. They're appreciative, they understand how it.
And they're appreciative too, because we're getting them sketches too, so it's required for them to have this, but, you know, we have the sketches that are approved. I'm like the sketch team, I guess, now.
Sure.
And, I'm constantly writing up programs so that we can give them what they need also to continue their certification, right, so.
But there are teachers who went through it who are like, I missed that first year, I missed those meetings, so they are communicating that.
Now, is it mandatory attendance or anything like that?
Orientation it would be,
Orientation,
right?
yes.
But we have not had, very rarely have we had somebody not be able to come or not want to come. And usually it might be maybe an ancillary staff who has plenty of years and they just don't feel like the
Yeah.
topic for that particular session's for
Yeah.
them, but they try to come to things that are relevant.
Sure.
But it's very rare.
And they can make up hours with some of those things like EduPass or Michigan Virtual, but they don't tend to do that. They tend to want to be a part of the group.
They probably learn better in group settings. When you're with your peers, I like what you said as well too, is that it's not coming from admin down, it's coming amongst
Right.
the group. So thank you, I appreciate the presentation.
Well, thank you both very much, and please extend our gratitude and, to the others that weren't here tonight. Thank you. All right, next up, we have an administrative update today from Mr. Ciesielski on the school aid budget.
Thank you. Just wanted to get back in front of the board, kind of do a very 30,000-foot overview of what the fiscal year 2026 school aid budget looks like and how it may impact Linden Community Schools. So, real quick, just some assumptions. a lot of estimations, still a lot of language clarifications that need to come to us as school districts through the different bills and the different categories that came through with the school aid. And then a lot of unknowns until those are clarified. There's some things that we won't know, and as some of you have experienced in the past, there's budget line items that we learn about today that we don't even see the funding for until February, March. So just wanted to hit on some of the highlights. First of all, there was an increase in the per pupil funding. There was a 4.6% increase from last year. We budgeted approximately 2,312 students. So going into this school year, we're looking at a per pupil funding of $10,050 versus the $9,608 that we received last year. There's also about a 25% increase in funding to help and continue to support at-risk students, our English language learners, career and tech ed. There's some line items with, again, a 25% increase over last year. And then students in rural school districts. There's some increases in that as well. And that's usually under the 31A category. Cheryl deals a lot with that particular funding area. So a lot of times when she talks to you about different things that we've done, from our coaches to different after-school opportunities for students, they're coming out of the 31A grant. There was a 9.4% increase in to continue expanding support for special education services. So again, we're really excited to see that. Kelly's got some really good ideas going, and has really made a difference in stepping into that position. $125 million to support school districts for schools transportation. So what they do basically, that is they determine how much Linden will qualify for, and they give us that particular funding, and that has to be used for transportation. We are a school district that third parties have transportation. We are allowed to use that money with a third party. Keep in mind, a lot of that gets eaten up through gas, fuel, because we buy that ourselves. But again, we can use that funding for transportation. We did not get it last year, but we do get it this year. Some other highlights, free school meals for all students, still in play. The 4-year-old, free pre-kindergarten for all 4-year-olds. So again, they've allocated $657 million to expand that program. And again, one of the things they're telling us right now is it doesn't matter about family income. I think as the board knows, we've presented before, they almost have like a sliding scale based on income, and when you may get into the GSRP program based on your family income. So again, that's what they're telling us right now in my conversations with Ms. McAravage. We haven't seen that in writing yet or what that may look like. We are anticipating that families may still have to submit income verification. Again, just so the state has data, hopefully to continue this program. So again, additional information to come on that. Educator stipends to help with recruitment and retention. So again, basically continuing, currently student teachers get a stipend. I believe it's $9,600 a semester to do their student teaching through the state. So that will continue, as well as additional, potential additional compensation, stipend, bonus, however you want to clarify it, for practicing educators. Again, don't know how much that is going to be, how that's going to be distributed, or what that looks like. So again, additional information to come. There was also school safety and mental health monies that was set aside. And again, the last few years, Linden has been able to capitalize on that, whether it be additional supports in and out of the classrooms for our students and our staff, security, whether it be cameras, whether it be secure vestibules and things of that nature above and beyond what the bond is provided. There is language tied to this money. So we will be bringing this back at a future board meeting because there is some decisions that the board has to make to opt in order to get this money from the state. So again, the board will have to make that decision. Overall, we are anticipating an increase of just over $1.1 million compared to last year's budget. Again, our FTE monies were increased, 31A at-risk monies were increased, 31 AA, and again, this is an increase over last year. So it's not the total we get, it was an increase on what we received last year. The bilingual education, $341, but it's still an increase, and again, that's based on your pupil. And then the CTE incentives, we're looking at an additional $11,000. And a lot of that is to the work that Darren and Mike have done here, with Terry Parker with our business program. So we should see some of that fund to help support that program. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, thanks, Russ, for putting all this together. This is really helpful, because what we had seen, it's kind of hard to discern exactly what it all means. This lays it out really nicely, I think, puts us in a pretty good position. Still unfortunate it took them so long to make the decision, but I guess once they finally did it, it was in our favor, so that's a good thing. Any, questions? Yeah, Mr. Haney?
Just real quickly, is the only portion of funding that's unappropriated the per pupil funding? 10,000?
I didn't hear your question.
Is the only portion of unappropriated funding the per pupil allowance?
Yes.
So everything else we have to have record of, that
Yes.
what they're getting, we're putting in, none of the stuff that's the general fund, except for.
Well, when you talk about supporting at-risk students, no, it's unappropriated, or it's appropriated, so we would have to use it specifically for that, so yes. Transportation, special ed, I'm just kind of reading real quick here. And again, these are just highlights, career tech ed, yes.
Sure. Okay, that's it.
Mr. Murphy?
Thank you, Mr. Luck. Thank you, Mr. Ciesielski, for the good news. I'm glad that my prediction at the last meeting came true. All the, at the very, very end, that the state government would get together before the absolute deadline of the end of the first of the month, end of September. So, a couple things. You mentioned there's going to be some more money for school transportation. You also mentioned that we did not get that last year.
It was not part of the budget.
Right, you didn't put it down in our anticipated increase areas.
I'm sorry,
So we don't really know.
We don't know.
It's $125 million,
Yeah.
that's.
Those were the numbers that, the state had provided to us
For the.
for the increases.
Yeah. Your increase numbers down here were provided by the state, not generated by you?
Those numbers on the screen, they were not generated by me.
Oh, okay. So district-wide, they're projecting, state's projecting by 31A, we'll see an increase?
That Linden will see.
229?
That is correct.
Oh, okay, good. So they didn't include it, because they didn't know what. I thought you generated those numbers.
No.
Okay, very good. We passed the, fall count day, right?
Yes,
So what's our count looking like right now?
2316.
So we're very close to what we budgeted.
Yes.
Okay. So we're not gonna have.
Double check.
Russ had to do some amazing manipulating numbers to keep us above board. Do you wanna comment on that, Ms.
I was just gonna comment on the transportation piece, I think Russ misspoke, we did receive the transportation money last year, it just wasn't, we had removed it from the 25-26 budget.
Okay, so, so it'll help us in the end. On that.
Right.
Okay, good. And you're comfortable with the 2316 versus 2312, obviously from a budget perspective?
Yep, I think if I have our presentation from last year, we had a blended count, based on projections of 23-24. So we did 23, we budgeted with 23-24 of a blended count, and we came in with fall of 23-16.
Okay. And then, did we budget a per pupil funding increase into? Not
We
at
did
all.
not, we
So
budgeted
this
it
whole
at 9608.
400, some odd dollars, $44 will be new money for us per kid. So
Correct.
that's great. Let's see, obviously the free school meals for all students, I'm glad to see that came through. I guess I look at the school meal thing as like a transportation. I don't think your age bracket should be, or your funding, the financial bracket should determine whether or not we, transportation meals are on par in my world in education. So I'm glad that they're looking at it from the same perspective. I know we would have probably had the opportunity to, with extra money, to continue that program, but that would have been a decision of the board instead of a decision by the state. So I'm actually kind of glad the state took that off the plate. The free kindergarten for 4-year-olds, $657 million to expand. From what I've been told in the past, say that Governor Whitmer always considered full, free, kindergarten, or pre-kindergarten, funding would only really cover 75% of the available kids. She felt that at that point, that was considered everyone. 75% and 100 is not close in my world, but that's what she was kind of pitching. So I guess my comments to Mr. Ciesielski earlier today was, where are we at right now? I know we just got approved today for the 104 slots.
It was a couple days ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I sent that out today.
Very good. So we're at 104 slots, but I hope that we're gonna have more than 104 kindergartners next year. So that leaves, where are these other kids, and how can we reach them? I certainly hope that, and I've kind of harped on this for a while, is that we continue to expand our knowledge base of our young families out there who has kids that are younger than 5 that we don't know about. Because the state has still not come up with a system to inform us, even though it's available out there, they just don't wanna share it, I guess. That, you know, where do these kids live, and so we can target our resources. You know, the signs are great, the free preschool for kids, the nice signs see out there, but it just gets lost in a presentation when there's nothing behind it. It's a statement and it's a number. And people that might have called in the past said, yeah, we didn't qualify financially, so I'm not gonna waste my phone call. Well, now there's new information that says that's probably not gonna be the case. I hope that they don't renege on this part and say, hey, no, we didn't really mean for everybody, we're still gonna have fine. The fact that you got a state financial income for data purposes, I'm fine with that. But I just want us to, again, really focus our program to be able to push this out. The only other limiting factor is gonna be space. How many kids can we really handle in this program? And, you know, we've moved downtown, so we're a little bit tighter on space. So I guess I'd like an update from administration in the near future about where are we at on space, and I think we're at 90-some right now in the program, is that what I believe? So sounds like we've got some open slots immediately available. Do we have a list of 10 or 12 that we're ready to put into those slots? I don't know, it doesn't sound like it, but we don't know that until we know that. So, I guess I really think this is a great opportunity. My grandson was in the program last year for just 4 months and really setting himself up for success this year. He's in young 5s, he probably could be in kindergarten, but he's in young 5s just because he's got a late September birthday, and he's a littler guy, but he's, you know, emotionally, he's academically, I think, ready to go into kindergarten. But the bottom line is, I think that this program that he went for last year, not going to a preschool on his own because his mom was at home, it was kind of a great introduction to how to become a good student in the classroom. So, again, I think this is a great opportunity. I hope that our kids, if they all can get involved, or largely can get involved, that our level of capability when they hit kindergarten will be much higher. And whether or not we raise our standards for what we expect out of kindergarten or not, that's yet to be determined. But the bottom line is, I think they'll have much more success, likely success, by having a program like that. It's not focused on hardcore academics, it's more like just an emotional, get used to school type environment. They do academic things, don't get me wrong, that preschool program I was pretty impressed with. So, again, these are the areas I think we need to focus on, and I hope our principals at the lower level are really gonna help us, and the teaching staff gonna help us identify these people that we need to get a hold of to let them know there's great programs out there, and they probably qualify. So, but we won't know I think if we wait for them to call us, I don't think it's gonna happen. I think we'll just mutter along, we'll get a few more trickle here and there, but to continue to get the massive amount that we want, and again, that's gonna be space limited. But once we find out the space, I think we need to be very aggressive on going out there and trying to fill every one of those slots that we can fill. Because I think it's in the best interest of the kids, and it'll be in the best interest of the district long term, so. That's all for me, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Murphy's making good on his word, by the way. He promised to talk a little extra tonight for the 2 board members that were here.
That was my reduced version.
It was? All right, fair. All right. Thank you very much, Russ, for that update. Thanks, Kylie, for being here as well. closed session meeting on October 8th. Invoices for the month of September, the personnel summary sheet, the LHS Disney trip, and the LHS park club. Do I have a motion to
So moved.
approve these? Is there a motion?
Support.
And support to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We do not have any specific action items this evening, but we do have a couple of discussion items. And first up, would be the 3-district consortium, cooperative education program agreement. So I know all board members have had an opportunity to probably look through this. This is obviously nothing that's new to Linden. Mr. Ciesielski alluded to it earlier, that he and other superintendents in Fenton, Lake Fenton will be presenting on this as kind of a benchmark best practice in our state. Actually, that's, I was at one of his previous presentations, and a lot of, districts are kind of envious that we're able to do this. It works out really well for both the districts and the students, so I don't know if anybody has questions or comments on this as we, look to, do our 2-year agreement. Mr. Murphy?
Thank you. I'd like to say that I think it's a great program. I'm 20+ years, 23 years, whatever that I've been on the school board now. It's been something that I think Linden, Lake Fenton has really benefited from individually as districts and collectively as a group. I see there's only really 2 changes in the agreement from prior years, and I'll call out the operation of the cooperative education program. The 3-district advisory committee shall be responsible, instead of for providing the direction, it's providing input for the programs and services offered by this agreement. Mr. Ciesielski, what led to that change in that language there?
Well, I think a lot of it in regards, to, instead of providing the direction, to providing input. Again, the 3-district advisory board or committee is not a standing committee. Those are basically our 3-district board meetings. So we're getting different board members because of some of the Open Meetings Act rules. We're limited to how many can attend. And so providing input, we felt, just allowed us, more flexibility to continue moving forward based on what feedback we were getting from our boards, whether it be as a collective whole or at those board meetings.
It reads to me as providing direction. It sounds like we're dictating, mandating, at least by impression in the past. Now it's just, we're gonna just continue to provide input of various board members and such, and not really trying to dictate how things are put out.
Well, I don't, we never took it that way because we don't believe that you guys are dictating even now. When you're providing your input, we're taking it, you know, whether it be topics or, you know, if there's an idea that we can run with 3 districts, you know, we'll throw it out.
So just more accurate language now.
I think that was the intent.
That works for me.
Honestly, when I looked here, just a comment, my thought was that the program has been, it's so well developed already, that the direction's already set.
Sure.
So now it's just like, you know, continuing and improving, and, you know, making changes along the way, so.
The other one was the other change that was down in the expenses of costs shared by the programs. Each member district shared the expenses of the operations of each cooperative special education program listed within this agreement shall, instead of being calculated annually in June, it's now going to be reviewed following count day in the fall, with the final count calculation completed in the next spring. Tell me what that's all about.
Yeah, so if we follow that language, we'd only meet once in June, which gives us very limited time because, you know, our budgets are due by June 30th. Even with my experience as a superintendent being involved, we meet 2 times a year specifically to review all of our budgetary numbers and how that is being divided. We do meet once in the fall, and then we meet, and that's why we changed it to late spring. And that final meeting is where we go over those numbers, we take them back to each of our districts after going through them as a collective group, analyze it, make sure it's all correct, we submit it back, and then we get the invoices. And then we do a check exchange meeting that Kylie attends on our behalf. She hands the check to Lake Fenton hands the check to Linden, Fenton, Lake Fenton.
So the dollars won't really change, it's just how we get to that number?
Yeah, it's really, it's more accountability,
Okay.
that we're taking to make sure that the numbers are correct, because changes happen, I don't wanna say daily, but, you know, students are added, teachers are added, resources are added, and some are subtracted as well.
Yeah, okay, very good. I'm glad you made those 2 changes. Thank you.
Mr.
my question has to do with cost as well too, because obviously through the process, regarding that expense meeting that you guys had, is there an accountability for instance, to me, Lake Fenton only has one line item here, which is high school 9 to 12 for PI classroom, right? So in relation to cost sharing, cost split, does it take into account the amount of programs that are under our umbrella, that are under Fenton's umbrella, that are under Lake Fenton?
Yeah, I think the best way to, it's quite a formula. It's not necessarily based on what we have. Like you said, Lake Fenton has one EI classroom. It's based on the students. So Linden may have 5 students.
Okay.
Fenton may have 5, Lake Fenton may have 5. So you take the overall cost and then you divide it. You get a basically cost per student. And then multiply that by 5. That's what Linden would pay for that particular.
So there's a consideration methodology?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I need, thank you.
Anything else? All right, thanks, Russ.
Thank you.
All right, our second discussion item this evening is in regard to the Argentine Township School Resource Officer Agreement. And I know Russ has put together some information for us and has been sharing some information with us along the way, but let's put together a few slides regarding kind of where we're at with that and updates.
Yeah, thank you. Again, just wanted to bring this in front of the board. I know I've been sending out information along the way since we started the process. And typically, just to give you an idea of the process, since I've been superintendent, I typically meet sometime summertime with the chief of police for Argentine. We go through the contract. That particular person takes it back to the Argentine Township Board. They approve it, and when they get to that point, and as you know, I bring it to you guys, we approve it, and then we have a contract in place. So, real quick, just to let you know what the contract provisions are, and again, Argentine contract provides for part-time police personnel employed by Argentine Township. They work no more than 8 hours per day, and again, that is flexible, even according to the language, based on events and activities. So if we have a night event, and we would like them there as part of this agreement, it's either gonna be overtime on our behalf, or, you know, they kind of flex some hours throughout the day. It is based on a 180-day schedule. And again, it says September through June, but it is a little flexible because we start school before September. It is a fixed hourly rate as the contract reads. Now, in 2020, for the 2023-24 contract, we added just over $4,000 of total compensation for actual expenses related to the SRO assignment as it reads in the contract. And I think as the board remembers, Katie, you may not have been here for that, correct? Correct. So again, a lot of that had to do with vehicle, and at the time, Brian Sod was the township supervisor. That too has since changed, and a lot of it was like, what's the best way to include the use of the vehicle? Because again, you start getting depreciation and rotations and things like that. And there are other resources that come into play, that again, for compensation purposes. So as far as this year is concerned, I started, interim chief Ken Engel and I started communicating in July. Multiple phone conversations, face-to-face, with email conversations, and then kind of going through it on a little quicker basis, and not day-to-day, but on August 25th, I believe at an Argentine Township Board meeting, they voted to approve a 1-year contract extension at $40,000. At the same time, they also approved a new police contract with rates for part-time officers. And so when that information came to me, we hadn't even got to the point where we were okay with a contract. So in conversations and putting numbers together, I put obviously a compensation sheet together to determine $40,000. And so as you can see, I did it based on 25, 26, 26, 27, and 27, 28, based on those part-time rates as the contract kind of dictates, included everything but health insurance, because it is a part-time position based on their contracts in my conversations with Ken. And again, so at that point I was asking, what's the justification for the $40,000? And then when my response came on 9/3, on 9/3, I was informed that the township had a new number of just over almost $42,000, that they were going to include a 10% increase, or $3,800 for administrative costs. Okay, Again, what's the justification? How do I come back to my board and say this is the cost of the contract? And on October 15th, I did receive a signed copy from Matt Frederick, who is the Archland Township Treasurer. And again, this reflected the $40,000 for 1 year. October 21st, I did have a phone conversation with Matt Frederick. And again, asked for a sit-down meeting, that was declined. He indicated nothing would change. Again, I asked for justification. Which is, give me information I can at least tell the board. This is why the increase happened. He said it was for administrative costs. I asked what those were. And he told me they were for emailing and talking. Okay. So here we are today. Basically on the table, we have a contract from Argentine for $40,000, a 1-year extension. No other changes to the contract. It was just for the compensation piece. I think the other thing that's important to understand is the delay in getting to this point is not about the SRO program, and that needs to be very clear to the board. I think what Argentine has been able, with that SRO program, not only Argentine, but also Linden, we've been able to provide a resource for our staff and our students and our community, depending on the events and activities. And it's not about the compensation of the services. Okay? Even though, yes, I did lay out to Argentine what the compensation worksheet would look like from our end, and then just what is the justification. It is about transparency in my mind. I think we're at a point it's about transparency, not about the contract. So, again, what are our next steps? I guess I need guidance from the board. We can approve the 1-year extension. Great. We can continue negotiating. I can't disagree with Mr. Frederick. I think at this point, unless the board from Argentine Township is going to change their philosophy, I don't know what direction that's going to go. I can't speak for them. We potentially could look at other SRO options, private security, and working with Genesee County Sheriff's Office is probably our only 2 options. Cost-wise, I'm not up to speed on that. I haven't really looked into that at this point, so I'm waiting for the board's direction. I think we have a great relationship with our SRO. Ken Engel was our SRO for many, many years. He's now the interim chief, and we've gone through a couple different SROs over the years. But again, I think we've got a good relation. They provided a very good service with that program to us. So I just wanted the board, so I know what my next steps are moving forward.
Yeah, thanks, Russ. I'll defer to other board members here in a second. I guess my kind of initial thoughts on this is, I sort of like sharing what I'm sensing is some of your frustration with this as well. It's not about the $40,000. Like, it's not about the money. Obviously, there's not a dollar amount you can put on the safety of our kids, but where's the justification for the increase like the last time? Like, just administrative cost seems a little willy-nilly. To me, it seems really, unusual that their number went up and then went back down. Like, that seems odd too, where they just like giving us a higher number, then turn around and say, well, we've decided we'll lower it back down. It shouldn't be a game. There are local law enforcement, we have a good relationship. It's frustrating to me if it's kind of being a game or just like, oh, the district will pay it because they have to. In my mind, I feel like I wouldn't mind us being at a point where we explore other options just to see what would the cost be, what additional services might they be able to provide, and go from there. Again, it's not about the money, but it's about the relationship. I feel like I'm frustrated for you if you ask for a meeting and they declined it. That's not right. I don't know how the board members feel about this. That's kind of where I'm feeling at this point. Anybody have any other comments? Mr. Haney?
I think we're kind of, regarding looking for other resources to fill that position, it's gonna be 50 to 70% more than what we pay now. At the end of the day, we're looking at probably $70,000 a year. It is obviously our local relationship with them. I understand your frustration as well too. Is there a way to possibly look at a 2-year deal?
I did ask that even back originally, because we had a 2-year deal last time. It worked great.
Right.
And I think even when I read the minutes from the board meeting,
Yeah, and just to be clear too, so according to this, they voted on the $40,000 number.
Correct.
But then in early September, they just came back with this other number.
I
Did they
received-
vote on that, or that was just what you were told at that time?
That's what I was told at that time.
So presumably that's why they went back to the $40,000 number, because that's what the board voted on. Yeah, I like the idea that Mr. Haney is suggesting, you know, a 2-year contract or 2 or 3-year contract, you know, at an increased rate. That seems a little more justifiable, because it might be a little more of an increase this year, but then, you know, if you did 2 or 3 years out of 40,000 a year, then it's a little less, you know, moving towards. There are increased costs, we
Sure.
understand that. But, you know, with just a little justification and kind of the back and forth of numbers, I do think that that's a little, seems a little unfair, a little fishy, but, Mr. Murphy, do you have something?
Yeah, I
to
did,
say?
thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ciesielski, we talked about this a little bit today. I can, you know, going through the literature earlier, I can see your frustration, the bouncing around, the inability to communicate correctly without kind of being stonewalled. It's very disappointing. You know, Argentine has been great for us, we really appreciated their service over the years. What did we pay them the prior year? Do you remember what?
I can read that really quick for you. I do have it. So for the 23-24 school, for the 23-24 school year, we did a 2-year contract with Argentine Township, with $37,166.83.
So that includes the 4192 for the vehicle?
That did, yes.
Okay, so, you know, I guess what I see here is, you know, they're justifying that new number, 41,909, 49, a 10% increase, 38.
Can I back up, Steve? The number that was in the contract was $40,000.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm just going back to the reference of later on down the road, they sent you that little note that it would be 41,909. Instead of the 40,000 that they had approved a month earlier, or not even a month, was it?
August
Yeah, a
24th.
week? Is that a week or 2? Wow, okay. But anyways, the bottom line is, what I think, it kind of laid out, hey, we need, $3,800 for administrative costs. For answering emails, and, I don't know, okay, let's just say that we're good with that. But let's kind of back that up to that, you know, $40,000 number and say, here, why? Even if they're 41,909 number, having that built in doesn't, does that add up 38,109? I greatly appreciate your applying their contract to the projected 3 next years of what you think would likely cost based on, hey, they approved this for, again, part-time officers is what our program works with. Linden, we're dealing with full-time officers, so it causes a new contract with more cost to be in play. But with Argentine utilizing a part-time employee, we can expect to be dealing with a part-time labor schedule, which is identified by their own contract. So I guess I would like to see your number, that you've come up with, and, you know, at the most, you add the 3,800 to that, and say, would we be good with that number plus for the next 3 years? So it'd be the 38,109 plus the 3,800 for this year, and then the 39 plus 3,800 for the next year, and then 40,000 for plus 30. I mean, unless we don't wanna, I agree with Mr. Haney, I don't think we're gonna find a cheaper deal. I don't really wanna go to a cheaper deal. I like the close-knit, relationship that we have with them being this township. We are in their township, so it's a very natural relationship. But I just think I'm just, at the worst case scenario, I think that's what we should consider. best case scenario would be backing down to the $40,000 figure, taking that and deducting the $38,109 from that, and making that our administrative cost that we're willing to pay.
But, yeah, and I think that's what,
And tack that number on to the next 2 years.
based on my conversation with Mr. Frederick, that was basically the 30, I'm sorry. I did not do my math, but $38,000
It'd be like,
based on that worksheet plus.
a little less than $1,900.
7.6%.
It'd be like half the administrative cost that you're asking.
Yeah, that's the 7.6%.
So, I mean, I think if we could get them to agree to that, I think that's reasonable for both parties. I mean, it's a new cost that they feel they need to charge, that they've never charged us before. And, probably is some administrative costs that they need to cover. And like I said, they've been really reasonable, I think, with what they've provided in the past. I just kinda wanna throttle the growth to what, so I guess I'd love to see us just, cut that administrative number in half and deal with the schedule that you basically outlined for us for the next 3 years and see if that would be something they would be okay with doing, giving us a 3-year deal at that rate. So if you grow from 40,000 to, 41, 1, and then 42.5 for next year. So, I don't know, that's my thought. I think, again, I don't see us going a different direction at this time. It'd be a good idea. I think the fact that they've changed some leadership at the township lends to these kind of changes. People have got elected officials and they have to do what they feel is best for their township. So, what do you think? Is that something that they would consider?
I don't know.
Since how they've set
I
the bar
can
and
call Mr. Frederick again.
they're willing to go 40,000 for this year, and that, like I said, that's a $1,900 bump over what we thought it would be. And, I'd just like to see us nail it down and.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine they'd have to take back their blow too, but.
Well,
Right.
if the board wants me to go back, I'll go back to Mr. Frederick and at least ask about.
But I think obviously we would approve the 1-year deal for sure. The 40,000 for this year, because we're halfway through the year, right?
I wouldn't say for sure.
I mean, can we even change it at this point? Is that even an option?
We haven't approved it yet.
I mean, but they've been providing services for a month. Yeah. I think we honor what they've asked for, 40,000. I don't think that's totally outrageous, given the scale that Mr. Ciesielski laid out for us.
The fact that this is not resolved, they're equally culpable. That's my point, is that this isn't all our burden, right? So,
I suppose when they offered the $40,000 at the board meeting on August 25th, should have been a done deal, yeah.
but they didn't, wasn't it September 3rd?
But it didn't get sent to us out, near as I can recall.
No,
We never got the $40,000.
In my conversations at that time, I was working with Officer Tingle. I was still looking for justification on how they even came up with $40,000. I mean, I had no idea it was even going to the board.
Right.
For them to approve it. That would be like approving a contract and saying this is what it is without anybody being involved.
Like I said, I think your schedule laid out plus a portion for the, I don't know that they went to this detail. I mean, it would have been nice to say this is how we came up with 40,000, which was 38.1 plus
As I mentioned,
1,900.
that's all I was asking for, because again, I was under the impression I had to come to you guys and make sure before I gave them the okay to move forward, but my board was okay.
Well, you've been given 2 different numbers, so Mr. Montes.
Yeah, thanks. So for me, a lot of this is about precedent and process. So to me, the process has not been followed, is the way I understand it, which is kind of what you're saying, is we hadn't even had an opportunity to let the township know what our costs, what we calculated, so that they would even have a number,
Well, they
by
do
number.
that, they've seen that.
They see the table you created for them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think in one of my conversations, I even said, have Mr. Frederick check it, make sure my math is right.
But I think to your point, we hadn't even agreed on what the number was going to be before it was voted on and approved by their board, so now, I just think it's a bad precedent to set that we have not been able to negotiate in good faith before a number got approved. So I would say, I think that there needs to be, I think another, I know this has been frustrating for you, but I think another attempt at negotiating needs to be made to at least, yeah, I mean, you got a nice round $40,000 number, which obviously it looks like they backed into with the quote-unquote administrative costs. I think we should go with the method of using your table to then plug in, okay, how are you calculating that? And then, you know, let's put some rigor around that and understand where those costs are coming from. And I'd like to see it to where it doesn't come out to a round $40,000 number. It's an actual reflected cost that we can all agree on, and then we can extrapolate that into future years. So at least we have a basis for what we think that we should pay in the future. And we can talk about realistic costs and realistic increases instead of just backing into a round number. So I guess that's where I'm at. I don't only talk about $1,900, but again, to me, it's about the precedent that you would set if you allow this to happen, and trying to follow a process and maintain our good relationship that I think we've had.
I'd just like to see us offer the schedule plus 1,900 for each of the 3 years, and see if that's something they can work with. It'd be $40,000, $9, $40, $9.49 for this year. So it'd be an extra $9.49 over what they asked for.
Or I guess here's an idea. So are we saying that when there's an overtime situation, we're paid above and beyond the contract?
Well, it's based on a fixed hourly rate.
Right.
For the contract, and then, that money is taken off. For the contract, we pay the costs up front, and then as it's used hourly, then they pull that out of that money that we pay.
Okay.
And then when that money's out, decisions have to be made, whether we continue and pay more money, or whether we say, nope, that's our old stop.
Have we exceeded that amount before?
No.
Okay.
Not since.
I was gonna say.
Not since I've been in this position.
Okay. I was almost thinking maybe we could write an addendum to the contract that we want to sign, and we have a $1,900 credit, you know, in terms of the
Yeah.
number that we calculated, but it doesn't sound like you would even
Yeah,
use that
we-
credit. Yeah.
To date.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Rand.
Alternatively, regarding that 40, I think we should push for 3 years at 40, and accept 2 years at 40. That's my opinion. That's it.
Well, I think that's unrealistic when their costs are rising. It's laid out in the contract, so.
No, it goes, he identified administrative costs as talking and emailing.
Well,
That's insulting.
I think
That's insulting.
is,
And they started that.
but I think they're just trying to cover some overhead that they've never accounted for.
Well,
And
we gave them that in the form of the car, the last
that's
contract.
part of it, but you do have a chief of police that's kind of overseeing this employee. So you'd like to think maybe they would be entitled to some compensation. I just don't want to be a hard line, I'm setting a bad tone here. I would say, again.
I agree.
I think.
I don't wanna set a hard line either, but again, I think it's important as a district that, again, I go back to why we're at this point, in my opinion, from the district side, just give us a justification. Let us know why the additional monies are being added. Great, just like we did with the vehicle and those additional resources. We actually sat down, went through the process, great, brought it back to the board, here's the additional costs.
I think they did do that by stating 10% increase for administrative costs. That's their justification. I don't know that they need to owe us any more than that.
Okay.
I would just say that seems a little bit aggressive for our first time fee. I would like to see us, like I said, cut that in half. It gets to the number that they were willing to live with for this year. And then if we can apply that to the future 2 years, I think I'd be ecstatic. I think that's great. I mean, it's an increase, but it's still a very reasonable number compared to what school safety costs, and that's very important for us. So, but I think for now, we definitely need to accept the $40,000 number for this year. I think we should vote on that, and they pushed it to us, I'd send it right back, say, hey, we're good for this year, let's keep talking for the next 2 years. Right? No?
No, I don't agree with that.
Okay.
I mean, 'cause I think I don't know, I don't wanna call it a game, cause I hope it's not a game, but it seems very arbitrary, and I don't think we wanna antagonize that arbitrariness. You know, like,
So-
What it is.
Right, like they voted on it already without any negotiation.
So what I'll do, I'll at least go back and ask for potential multi-year deal, see what their response is. And provided they keep this contract on the table, which I guess they have, right, it's an option as well. And then obviously I'll keep the board updated, and then if we have to make a decision at the next meeting to move forward with at least this particular contract, then, you know, I guess that's something for.
I guess, I kind of disagree. I think, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the $40,000 projected contract for this year. I want to get this thing done. I don't want there to be an infighting going over whether or not we even have coverage. They could drop us tomorrow, let's set.
They are the local police department, they have to respond.
Yeah, I know that, but they don't have to give us the other perks that they're giving us by having a person on site dealing with, just basically being there for us, deal with a lot of the good things that they've accounted for. I just think we're poking a bear that doesn't need to be poked right now, so let's just.
Well, they
move
created
forward.
there.
Again, we raise our costs all the time, nobody bats an eye, you know, and we negotiate with our staff for this or that, and the costs go up. This is just their way of going up, not just covering their costs, but they're looking to cost above cost. But I don't think if we're $40,000, that's $1,900. That's 5% of an administrative cost. I think that's super reasonable.
That's, you're talking two different things now, because.
I'm not really. 40,000 plus what we thought we should pay, which is 38,000, is what Mr.
Said he was gonna make a motion. Did you make a motion?
Yeah, I did.
Murphy? Okay, what's your motion?
My motion is that we accept the 1-year, $40,000 contract as provided by Argentine Township for the year of 25-26. That's our role service.
So Mr. Murphy's made a motion to accept the $40,000 contract from Argentine Township for the SRO contract for 25-26 school year. Is there a second? Seeing none, the motion fails. So I think we just stay the course with what Mr. Ciesielski suggested.
I will go back and communicate with Mr. Frederick about what we discussed.
I am curious, because it said, you said that he declined to have a sit down. He stated why? Just that it
Nothing's
would
gonna change,
change.
yes.
We noted. So what do you think will happen if we don't give them a contract for 40,000? They're gonna say, we're out?
They may.
Dangerous, guys, dangerous.
There's principles involved.
We need more than that this day and age. That's why we invest so much in schools.
I think something that is to note is that it wasn't, I could understand an increase being for, cost of living, inflation, et cetera, but to just blanket statement say it's administrative cost.
They have largely a new
Different
board, I
base
think, from the
entirely.
last time we negotiated this contract, they have a different board. They may have felt like that board was underselling their service, and it's a way to get back some of that. Maybe they thought 10% was needed. Maybe that was just because they felt they were underpaid in previous years, I don't know. But again, they have a chief of police that oversees this process for us. And it's, to help fund that salary, I think it's totally reasonable to have an administrative cost, and it's not that outrageous. Basically 5%, that's all they're asking for this year. Now they're asking for probably more than that in the future, but maybe not. Maybe we can get them to buy into a 5% administrative cost. Because that's kind of what they did this year. I mean, they went to basically a 10% with their new number of 41,909, but, hey, it's a big mistake.
I think in the past, it's been a discussion too, it's been a negotiation before either board has approved it. And so that's, we could sit here and, make another motion for our own contract for them, and then tell them that's what we decided. That's not the right thing to do either, but, that's kind of what they did before even having conversation, so. At any rate. We probably could discuss this the rest of the night, and all agree to disagree on certain aspects of it, but I think Mr. Ciesielski's probably gotten what he came to us for, which is kind of the next steps from what we're thinking. So with that, we will look there is no closed session this evening, so at 7:17, we are